Hello dear students. So in the previous lesson we studied about the transmission electron microscope and several parts which combine to form the TEM assembly. Okay, and now we will be looking at the other point, which is the sample preparation for transmission electron microscopy. So in the previous lesson we said that we can obtain the 2D images of the specimens by using the transmission electron microscope, and because the electron beams are used, that's why we need some extremely thin slices that should be around 20 to 100 nanometer thick only, okay, as compared to the normal slices that can be seen by the light microscope. And why these are required? Because the electrons can be deflected by the air molecules and they can be easily either or and they can because the electrons are used in this assembly and they can be deflected easily by the air molecules, and they can be either absorbed or scattered by the solid matter. Okay, so we need very thin slices through which the electron beam can pass. Okay, this is applicable to all kind of samples, for example the microbial specimens, for example the biological specimen. Okay, and these thin slices cannot be generated using the normal knives which are used for the uh, conventional microtome. So for this purpose, the specimens have to be cut by using the special knives that are made up of diamond or of glass, and the specimen has to be embedded in some special plastic structure that provides the support even after the sample is cut. Okay, so for example, in the normal microtome, we provide the support by using paraffin, and we make the paraffin blocks in which the specimens are embedded. Here, the specimens are embedded in some certain specific plastic structure. After the fixation of the specimen with the chemicals, for example, glutaraldehyde or osmium tetraoxide, that stabilizes the structure of the cell, the specimen is dehydrated. उसमें से water को evaporate किया जाएगा या निकाला जाएगा by using the organic solvents like acetone and ethanol. This complete dehydration is very necessary because most of the plastics that are used for embedding, they are not water soluble. Okay, so that's why for supporting these structures by using the plastics, we have to remove any water content. Next, what is done is that the specimen is soaked in the unpolymerized liquid epoxy plastics until it is completely permeated, and then the plastic is hardened to form the solid block. Okay, and then the thin sections can be cut in the special microtomes by using the glass or the diamond knives, and the microtome is known as the ultra microtome. So by using some specific kind of stains, we can stain the samples in the electron microscopy, but these will also enhance the contrast of white and gray and black. Okay, and why is it done? Because the probability of electron scattering is determined by the density of the specimen atoms, and the biological molecules are composed of the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms, which have got the low atomic numbers. And the electron scattering is fairly constant throughout the unstained cell. Okay, इसका क्या मतलब है? That means that electron scattering अगर सारे के सारी cell surface पे same होगी, that means that we will get an image that will have same contrast of gray or the same intensity of gray and will not be very helpful to the eye. Okay, so therefore the specimens are prepared in such a way that they can be observed in a better contrast, and for this purpose the thin sections are soaked in the solutions of the heavy metal salts like the lead citrate and the uranyl acetate. Okay, the lead salt and the uranium salts bind to the structure of the cells and they make them more electron opaque. यानी अब जब इलेक्ट्रॉन की बीम इनके साथ स्ट्राइक करेगी तो that will not pass through them, rather it will be refracted back, thus increasing the contrast in the material. Heavy osmium atoms are used from the osmium tetraoxide fixative, and they can also help to stain the cells and increase their contrast. Okay, and the stained thin sections can then be mounted on the tiny copper grids and can be viewed by the help of the transmission electron microscope. Another technique is shadowing that helps to create the shadows of dark and light. There can be a negative staining or shadowing, two kind of shadowing. One is negative staining. What is done in negative staining is that the specimen is spread out in the form of the thin film phosphotungston with either phosphotungstic acid or uranyl acetate. So how does this help? This helps exactly in the same way as we do the negative staining for the light microscopy. इसका क्या मतलब है कि heavy metals that will be used in negative staining, they will not penetrate into the sample, rather they will create a dark background, like in dark microscopy, whereas the specimen will appear brighter in the photographs. Negative staining is the excellent way to study the structure of the viruses, bacterial gas vacuoles, and the other similar objects. Okay. Whereas what is done in case of shadowing is that a specimen is coated with a thin film of platinum or other heavy metal by evaporation at an angle of 45 degrees from horizontal. In this way, what the metal does is that it strikes the microorganism only on one side and not on the other side. Okay, so on one side the shadow will be created and on the other side it will not be there. In one commonly used imaging method, the area coated with the metal appears dark in the photographs, whereas the uncoated side, वो side जहाँ पे platinum की coating नहीं हुई होगी, that will appear lighter in color, and in this way it will be easier for the eye to detect the different components of the cell. This technique is particularly useful in studying the morphology of the viruses, prokaryotic flagella, and the DNA. Third method is known as freeze itching. While taking the images with transmission electron microscope, we can also view the organelles within the cell, okay? And if we want to look at the organelles within the microorganisms, then we have to prepare the specimens by using the freeze itching procedure. What happens in the freeze itching procedure is that the cells are rapidly frozen in liquid nitrogen. You know that the liquid nitrogen has got the temperature of minus 196 degrees centigrade. Then it is warmed to 100 degrees centigrade in a vacuum chamber. Afterwards, a knife that has been pre-cooled with the liquid nitrogen minus 196 degrees centigrade, not 196, it fractures or breaks the frozen cell because now the cell has got very brittle, just like the ice, and it breaks along the lines of the greatest weakness, usually down the middle of the internal membrane. Okay, so in this way, because of these cracks, the structure becomes apparent to the eye or the detector. The specimen is left in the high vacuum for a minute or more so that some of the ice can sublimate away and it can uncover more of the details of the structure. Okay. Um, what is sublimation? Sublimation means that the ice just evaporates, okay? It is not converted into liquid because this is the ice of the liquid nitrogen, okay? So finally, the exposed surfaces are shadowed and coated with the layers of platinum and carbon that forms a replica of the surface. After the specimen has been removed chemically, the replica can be studied by the transmission electron microscope and it provides the detailed three-dimensional view of the intracellular structure. The advantage of freeze itching is that it can minimize the danger of artifacts because the cells are frozen quickly rather than being subjected to the chemical fixation, dehydration, and plastic embedding. So, while we will be studying microtomy, you will realize that when we are fixing the sample for embedding in paraffin or embedding in plastic, we use the chemicals that can dehydrate them, like ethanol, like xylene, and they can always create some protein fixation that can distort the sample. Whereas in freeze itching, this distortion is prevented. And that's all for the moment.